This is my book, my last book, No Crystal Stair, Womanist Spirituality. It's a compilation of articles, book chapters, and some new pieces that I wrote and brought together in this one book. I want to start with the poem for which the book is named. It's a poem by Langston Hughes, Black Renaissance author. It's called Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up, places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time I's been a-climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, and we could also say girl, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on those steps 'cause you finds it kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I'm still going, honey. I'm still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Whenever I read this, I think of my mother, because I know that was what her life was like. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. With these words, Langston Hughes poignantly sets forth the lived experience of women of African descent in the United States. In this short but eloquent poem, he lays out the contours and content of African American women's spirituality, one forged in the fiery furnace of slavery, Jim Crow, and ongoing prejudice and discrimination in the United States. For over 450 years, Black women have struggled, fought, journeyed, and climbed with their men and sometimes urging them on, carrying their children, giving them a boost when needed, picking up strays along the way, keeping on. It was not an easy journey. Their path was not laid out for them, swept down, neat and tidy. As Hughes affirms, that path too often was uphill, had tacks in it and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpeting. Yet they kept climbing. Somehow, they made it over. The spirituality of Black women in the United States is a womanist spirituality, one that flows from their lived encounters with God, nurtured and sustained with sweat, tears, and yes, at times blood, as they worked the fields, worked in the homes of white families, worked in factories, and wherever else they could to support their families and build their communities. They did not have the luxury of staying home and caring for their own, but had to go out into the world to confront racism and sexism in all its forms. Theirs is a spirituality grounded in their faith in a God who affirmed their worth as human beings, created in God's own image and likeness. In the words of the psalmist, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" This question, in actuality, is more a statement of undying and unself-conscious faith that can be said to serve as the foundation of African American women's spirituality, a spirituality which arises from a deep and abiding faith in a God of love, a wonder-working God who walked and talked with them, giving them the strength to persevere. This God in whom they placed not only their trust, but their very lives as slaves and second-class citizens in the United States for over 400 years was a God transformed and transforming. Creator of all that existed, God was also a man-child in need of their love, trust, and nurturing. God was a spirit of strength and perseverance that guided them over the rock-strewn paths on which they were forced to travel, and a liberating, righteous lover of justice who opposed their oppression and the blasphemy of those who claimed that God was on the oppressor's side. They knew better, for they knew God personally, intimately, Nothing, they believed, was too hard for God, so nothing was too hard for them to attempt to accomplish in their everyday struggle to keep hope and faith alive. Their spirituality is rooted in a community of the born, yet to be born, and those who have already passed over. This community forms a great cloud of witnesses who help to shape and form all people into the human beings God intended them to be. Throughout history, life outside the community was inconceivable. Life over against the community was suicidal. The community, from smallest child to oldest elder, was the life's blood of each and every individual within it, regardless of age, gender, or ranking, and each owed a responsibility to others within that community to enable both community and individuals to survive and to thrive. Faith in God and in their community gave enslaved women hope, enabling them to persevere against daunting obstacles which threatened not simply their identity, but their very lives. Somehow, they were able to forge a spirituality, a holistic and pervasive understanding of the interconnectedness and interdependence of all of creation with God that has now persisted for centuries. They took to heart the prophetic words of Sojourner Truth. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, together women ought to be able to turn it right side up again.